Hey everyone, I'm recording this screencast to give you a resource that you can use to revise for the document study assessment that we are going to have. You may know, if you have been following the news, that maybe just an hour or so ago, the Premier announced that he would be pushing for school holidays to begin on Tuesday, this coming Tuesday, which may mean that we might not actually get to this assessment this term. Nevertheless, I thought it would be a good idea to record this screencast just so that we have a resource that we can use in the meantime and later as well, right? Because we may not actually get to the point of doing the assessment this term. As you can see, I've been spending some quality time at home, during this strange period of our lives, buying new runners and also keeping up with coronavirus updates. Alright, so some of you will know that there's a practice document study document here in the file section on the portal. So what you need to do is go ahead, download that, and it should look like this. These are the kinds of things that you can expect. These are not the actual ones, this is just a practice, so you'll get something like political cartoons, something like a poster. You'll have a caption that's not in bold, that gives you some information, some contextual information about the actual document. And then you'll have an 8-mark question that is broad. So it just says explain the cartoon or the document with reference to the features of the source and your knowledge of the context, which is why it's really important, as I pointed out in the portal, that you need to revise your knowledge of the periods of time and also think about how you can analyze the source. So I'm going to demonstrate to you in this screencast how I would go about it. I've copied this into our class OneNote in the collaboration space, and during our Teams meeting, one of our Teams meeting, I'll show you how to access this. Okay, so I've copied and pasted this in so I can annotate it for you and have a look at what we can think about. Right, I've also got the question here and also the caption here as well. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is actually start with this information here. Right, the finishing touch published in the British magazine Punch in 1919. So the first thing I'm going to think about is actually contextual information. The reason why I want to think about context first is people don't just make these sources for no reason. People make these sources in response to an issue or event from the time. So this cartoon here is responding to something that's going on at the time. So what do we know about it? We know that the issue or event is from 1919, right? So what have we studied from 1919 this term? Most likely the relevant event. Oh, hello, Miss Fulton. Most likely the relevant event is the Paris Peace negotiations that resulted in the Treaty of Versailles. Now, how might I know that? Well, the reason is because if you have a look at the actual cartoon, you've got Germany, you've got the Allies, who include the USA, the UK, and France. You've got peace discussions here as well. So it's probably the Paris Peace negotiations or discussions that resulted in the Treaty of Versailles. So that's probably the event that this relates to. Here we go. We also know that the title of this cartoon is The Finishing Touch. Right, which probably means near the end of the discussions, or maybe the finishing touch in the sense of finishing off Germany. Oh, hello, Miss Dana. As you can see, teachers communicate outside of work as well. All right. So from the contextual information, we also know that this is a British cartoon. So it shows the perspective of this publication about the Treaty of Versailles and the peace negotiations. Okay. So again, it's really important for us to think about the context first, because these sources are always made in response to an issue or event at the time. So we need to actually think about what we know about the event, right? So at this point, if you're practicing, then you may want to go back and actually revise your knowledge of what actually happened during the peace negotiations and what actually happened with the Treaty of Versailles. How was Germany involved in that? What did the Allies do? Etc., etc. Right? It's going to give you an actual understanding of what this cartoon might actually mean. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch my laptop to tablet mode so I can annotate this cartoon. Okay, so I'm going to make some observations. So one thing I observe is this giant hand, and it represents the Allies, which is the UK, USA, and France. We can actually also lump in a couple more nations, but those were the big three, the most important ones. So we have a diving board here with peace discussions. Right? We have a man representing Germany. You can see that these are all just observations so far. I haven't done any analyzing at all. We can see from his expression is nervous, doesn't want to jump. Right? Can we notice anything else? Well, we've got the actual title here. I can't really see anything else that I would consider. So we'll just stick with these observations for now. Okay. So now that I've made my observations, I'm going to think about what might these mean. So seeing that the man looks like he's quite nervous and doesn't want to jump, and that the man represents Germany, it kind of seems like the Allies are trying to push Germany to dive into the water. Okay. And these peace discussions, pushing them off the peace discussions into the water, right? Which probably suggests that I'm going to write it here. So it suggests the Allies are forcing Germany to dive in. Right. Expression is nervous, doesn't want to jump, means Germany doesn't want to go in. Okay. Now, you could interpret this in different ways depending on what you know about the context. What we do know is that Germany was forced to accept the terms of the treaty. We also know that Germany wasn't actually involved in the negotiations either. They were actually locked out. Right. My inclination is to think that this has a lot to do with the Allies forcing Germany to accept the terms of the peace treaty, the Treaty of Versailles, right? And not be a part of the peace discussions. Okay. Suggests that the Allies are forcing Germany to dive in, pushing Germany off from discussions. Okay. Forcing them to accept the treaty. And I think given this, the fact that this is a giant hand kind of shows that the Allies are powerful. Giant hand means Allies are powerful. And now we've got here the title, The Finishing Touch, which I guess can mean a lot of things. But if we consider everything that we have here, our observations and our thoughts in red, and also our contextual information, okay, we know that this might be the finishing touch to finish off Germany. Right? Germany has surrendered. They've been forced to surrender, and now the finishing touch is to force them to accept the terms of the treaty, to get them, to push them off the peace discussions diving board. Okay. All right. So what this shows you is what you need to do. Again, just to recap, you need to understand the contextual information first. You need to remember what actually happened at the time. You need to make observations that I've done in the black. And remember, with observations, you're just trying to notice things that are important. And then putting together what you know about the context and what you observe, you can actually start inferring meaning, right? The red is what these observations mean, what we think about those observations, okay? And we put all that information together, we can actually analyze this piece. So what I'm going to do in a separate video is show you how I'm going to write up an analysis.